Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with not only a model showcase video, but it's also a new product video for this 1/6 scale M40A1 recoilless rifle with the M27 tripod. The model that you see here is built for my own personal collection and is not for sale and/or purchase. If anyone's interested in having a model built to the specifications that you see here, I often take on commission build projects from vehicles ranging from 1/35 scale all the way up to 1/6 scale. As for availability and pricing information, that information would be best by contacting me through the email address listed below, which is info@eastcoastarmory.com. Now, for anyone who's a fan of the channel, this is not the first time I've done an M40 build in 1/6 scale. There are a few other variations that have been posted on the ECA channel, and this version here is basically built with the exact same kit. However, this kit is different than the other ones due to the different type of tripod that this version has. We'll be going over these features as well as reviewing these parts in this video. Before we go any further with the video, let's go ahead and take a quick walk around the model. And this model here is the M40A1 recoilless rifle with the M27 lightweight tripod. Like I've mentioned in the other M40 videos, the M40 was a 106mm recoilless rifle that was developed by the United States after World War II in the Cold War period. The weapon served from the late 1950s all the way up into the 1970s with the US service. Normally, the M40 was designed to be utilized with that of a wheeled tripod. The wheeled tripod is known as the M79. The M79 tripod was a very good design and was one that was very commonly seen on the M40 for use in static locations. This is also the same unit that is found on wheeled vehicles such as the M151A2C MUT as well as the M38A1 variant as well. Now, the M79 tripod was not without some drawbacks, namely due to its size and weight. Like I said before, it was very good for static installations. However, if the unit for whatever reason needs to be kept mobile, the weight and size of the tripod were going to become a hindrance. To solve this problem, the designers developed the M27 tripod. The M27 tripod was much smaller in shape and size compared to the M79, but was also able to fold and collapse away compared to the limited range of storage capabilities from the M79. In addition to being able to tuck away and occupy a smaller space in a collapsed format, the M27 was also significantly lighter in weight compared to the M79, which also made it a lot more easy to carry it around and to set it up and deploy it. This tripod was also intended to be stowed with vehicles in which the M40 was to be used as primarily mounted onto the vehicle, but has the capability in which if ever the M40 needs to be taken off for whatever reason, you can still deploy the weapon with this smaller tripod that would be stowed on the vehicle side or on the vehicle's interior. Two vehicles that come to mind would be the mechanical mule, and also more than likely many of those M113s that have the M40 strapped to the roof. I guarantee you more than likely have one of these M27 tripods fastened and strapped to the inside of the vehicle. One of the more iconic usage of the M40 with this setup was during the Battle of Hue with the US Marines. There are several photographs of US Marines engaging NVA positions with the M40 in this exact same configuration. More than likely, this configuration came from one of the mechanical mules. There were several mechanical mules with the M40 fitted to this vehicle that were used in Hue, and more than likely the weapon was dismounted from the mule and the M27 tripod was utilized to deploy the M40 in a house or in an alleyway to which the mule just couldn't get access to these two locations. Both the M79 and the M27 tripods were thoroughly used throughout the Vietnam War and were used all the way up until the mid-1970s when the M40 series entirely was deemed obsolete and replaced in military service with that of, again, the TOW missile system. Before we go any further with the video, let's go ahead and take a step back to when the model was first started in order to get a good idea on what the base starter kit supplies you with. And here we have all of the kit components strewn out here on the table. Now, all of the pieces that you see here are for the assembly of the M40's receiver, barrel sections, and the other fittings that are found on this component. These pieces here are identical to the ones used on the other versions of the ECA M40 kit. The difference between this kit and the other kit has to do with that of the actual tripod. One can notice that the tripod is very different compared to the one on the standard M40. It is both smaller in size and also a lot simpler compared to the other unit. This one here would be referred to as the lightweight tripod. And this unit here is all encompassing with this section that I have here in my hand. On this unit here I have the tripod with the two legs as well as the two lock pins which seal everything together. The unit that we have here is fully detailed with both its interior detailing as well as its fastener detailing on the bottom as well as on the top. Maybe a little bit difficult to see with the medium that it's printed in, specifically with this color and the camera lens, but there are some superficial detailing found on this section over here as well. Now, if we notice, this section here is closed off. This has to do with that of the mounting of the ECA yoke to this section. On the real M40, this would be actually open and the real yoke would lock in with a set of locking lugs. This design is not present on the ECA kit as a fastener is used to hold everything together. Now, it's important to point out that on the ECA site, there is a second version of this tripod offered, which is a standalone system, and it does not have this section here closed off and is open. This is purely designed to be used as detail, an extra accessory for a diorama scene, as this one does not have the unit closed off, nor is it capable of mounting on the ECA M40, but it does have the unit totally exposed, again, if you want to have the tripod as a standalone unit. And here's the model now fully finished. Now, I'm not going to go over the top portion here, as all this has been discussed in the other two videos, and the entire gun and yoke portion is identical to those components as they use the same parts. Where this model is different has to do with that of the M27 lightweight tripod. Here, fully assembled, you can see how the tripod gets mounted and is fully displayed. The gun can still transverse left and right. And what is unique is that the tripod legs can also pivot and stow out of the way. With the component fully painted and weathered, here you get a good idea on the actual detailing that is integral to the piece. First, we'll notice the seam lines on all three of the tripod legs. This is a key feature on this tripod and is one that I've seen on all of the other M27s that I used for reference. Now, from what I was able to gather, I believe these components are all comprised of aluminum forgings and castings. However, this may be something I'm mistaken with. If I am, if anyone does know the answer, feel free to mention it in the comment section listed below. Fold the legs out of the way so I can get the bottom portion better in frame. You can see the top and bottom flange that is integral to the core piece. And on the bottom here, you can see the fasteners in greater detail. There are fasteners on the top, but of course they are not visible once you mount the yoke, again, as per the real unit. The interior rigidity ribs are present, but unfortunately are very difficult to get with my lighting situation. Now the legs simply fold, like I said before. And one thing about these pieces is that they are very strong and durable. With this design here, it can easily hold up the weight of the model, and you're not going to have to worry about it breaking or cracking with any regular use, as the printed material is very strong and durable. And as a quick comparison, here we have the two types of tripods found on the M40. The one on the right is that of the lightweight M27 tripod, And the one directly next to it is that of the standard M79 wheeled tripod. Here you can see exactly how much lighter and minimalistic the M27 is compared to the M79. Now, both tripods each have their pros and cons to them. The M79 tripod is a lot larger and heavier, but is a more stable platform for the M40, and is generally better suited for more static, entrenched positions. The M27 tripod is being lighter and more easily stowed, is more maneuverable, and you can take it with you a lot easier compared to something as heavy as the M79. Now, the M27 tripod, again, would be something that would be stowed inside of a vehicle, such as the mechanical mule, or possibly even one of the M113s that featured the M40 mounted on top. Generally, if it's a vehicle that has the M40 mounted to the actual vehicle, the M27 tripod would be kept on hand in case you want to dismount the M40 and put it in a ground roll. While the M79 tripod is usually left in an as-is state with the gun mounted to it. Again, think of something along the lines as the M151A2C Mutt or the M38A1 Jeep. The entire unit is simply just strapped into the Jeep, and the whole system is ready to go in an as-is state. Now, as for installations such as a fire base, I have seen photographs of both of these units utilized, again, intermittently with each other, and as well as both of them did see extensive action during the Vietnam War. In addition to tooling up this new version of the M40, another bit of equipment that was tooled up as an accessory is that of the ammunition. Here I have one of the heat rounds that have been tooled up. Now this, as well as the empty shell casing that I have sticking out of the breech here. These two units are new additions that are also posted on the EastCoastArmory.com product line and can be found on the same catalog page with the M40. Now, just like with the M40 kit, the ammunition sets that we have here are all comprised of 3D printed components. And these sets, in design and in feature-wise, are very similar to the EastCoastArmory.com 75mm recoilless rifle ammunition sets, which were discussed in more detail in a review video, as well as also even a painting tutorial video. Those of which can of course be found on the ECA channel, and are found in the links listed in the video description below. As for these rounds here, like I said before, the sets come in a loaded or a spent configuration. Now, when it comes to the bottom casing, the two pieces are identical and have the same exact detailing. First, starting with the spent casing, you can see all of the perforations are present on the case. This is a hallmark of the M40 recoilless rifle design. If we notice here, the perforations have a band which end. This is taken as per the real units. Moving towards the inside, we have here the center tube, which should be able to pop up on camera. Like I said in the other video, the purpose of this tube is to evenly distribute the primer charge across the entire propellant bag, which will ignite it evenly, thus sending the projectile down the barrel. Now, just like on the 75mm version, the tube itself is perforated, and if I get it lined up properly, you can see the holes that run down the section of the tube and are found on both sides. These were taken directly off of a real M40 casing. Moving towards the bottom, I have here the primer cup and primer detailing, as well as a small little plate that is found on the bottom portion of these heat rounds. Now, moving to the loaded version, this is replicating that of the heat projectile, which was one of the more common rounds used on the M40. Now, like I said before, the casings are exactly the same. They are hollow, and the reason for this is just like what I mentioned in the 75mm ammo video, is that the reason for this design is so that you can put in a real paper sleeve, which will greatly help the accuracy of the piece and makes it really look very prototypical to that of the real units. Like I said in that video, the way these things work is that there's a paper sleeve that contains the propellant, and when the charge ignites, the paper simply just burns away and the propellant gases escape and exit through the rear portion here of the breech. By making the printings as a two-piece assembly, in which it allows you to put in a real paper insert, of course this is definitely going to make the piece pop compared to trying to emulate this by having to paint all these little perforations, which is definitely something that is very time consuming and just doesn't look nearly as effective as doing it this way, as again it's basically the same way as it was done on the real unit. Here I have the spent casing placed into the breech end of the recoilless rifle. Now the shells cannot be placed and chambered all the way in. However, the spent one does stick out this much from the receiver, which, as per the real M40 design, is something that would happen when you would open up the breech in the way you'd see it here. On the real M40, there is an extractor claw that is found right here besides the breech. This is found also, of course, here on this model. And the way the system works is that when the breech is in the closed state, the extractor locks onto the rim found here on the rear portion of the casing. When you would open the breech, the extractor, when it would pivot open, would slide the spent shell in this protruded manner, which then would allow the crew member to grab the casing, pull it and discard it, and then would then allow the ability to now load in a fresh cartridge. Now, like I said before, at the moment I only have the heat rounds that have been developed, but of course I'm going to be developing many of the other rounds which were common for this weapon system. More information on this is to follow in future videos. And with that, that wraps up this model showcase video / new product announcement video for this 1/6 scale M40A1 recoilless rifle with the M27 lightweight tripod. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook, where there are more photographs of this particular unit that have been posted, along with many of the other smaller and larger scale builds that have been showcased on the ECA channel in the past. Furthermore, don't forget to swing by eastcoastarmory.com, where this particular kit can be found, as well as many of the other larger and smaller scale builds and detail components. Thanks for watching.